Sagacity. 7 minutes of exercise for your mind.
So Sagacity is here. It's going to be a 7-minute podcast. At the end of the podcast, when there's 60 seconds left, you will hear this noise. We're putting that noise in because many of us, myself included, are easily distracted. And we are asking you to commit to 7 minutes of exercise for the mind on a regular basis. So when you start to drift, if you're one of those people that are easily distracted, if you start to drift, what I hope is that splat will remind you that there's 60 seconds left. Tune in and make sure you take something away from the 7 minutes that you've committed to exercising your mind. We're going to start this series with a little bit of a visualization technique. It requires some creativity, a bit of imagination, and maybe for some of you, a little bit of feeling a bit silly. Nobody's going to know that you're doing it other than you. What's important is that you stay safe while you do it. So if you are driving or operating heavy machinery or anything else that could be a risk, either save it until you're not doing that stuff or be really sensible while you do it. But you don't need to get up or move about. You're just going to visualize that you are. So we are in a virtual room. There is me at the front of the room, you, wherever you want to be in the room, and however many other people that are listening to this podcast, that can be a number that you choose. They're also in the room. And we're all standing up with our chair behind us, ready to sit down. I'm going to give 6 scenarios. And if one of these scenarios is something that you've experienced yourself, so this is about you. So if you've experienced this scenario yourself, I want you to take a virtual seat. You might find that every single one of them is something you've experienced, and that's great. You might find that none of them are things that you've experienced, which would be very unlikely. Number 1, have you ever decided you're going to do something new and you've put it off over and over and over? You've procrastinated, and eventually you've decided to do it. You've gone for it. You've given it 100%, and it has failed. Failed is a harsh word, but to get the point across, I'm going to use that word. It has failed. It hasn't worked out how you'd planned. You haven't got what you expected from it. You haven't got the recognition you'd hoped. It just hasn't worked out. After all that delaying, you've finally done it and it's failed. If that has happened to you, take your virtual seat right now, please, but still keep listening in for the next 5, because you might have some more to add to your list. The second one, have you been recognized for doing something good by somebody that you didn't expect to recognize that you've done something good? So you've done something, you're proud of it, you're moving on, you're just chuffed with yourself, but somebody has said to you, hey, good job. That could have been an email, a text message, a phone call, someone stopping you in the street, but you've done something good and you've been recognized for it. And as you're thinking of that thing, if it's happened to you, you probably feel good and remember how good that felt. So if that's you, take a seat. Number 3, I'm aiming this to people who've had some sort of employment over the years. Have you ever been let down by a boss or the company that you work for? So it may be someone you've never actually met, who's in a back office somewhere. So if you're still standing, but that one is something you've experienced personally, take a seat, please. Number 4, have you ever been given an objective to meet by somebody and they've set it out like they're expecting you to just about manage to do it? It's going to be tough, but they're giving you 1,000,001 details on how to do it. And then you've overachieved and you've exceeded their expectations and maybe even your own. But in this occasion, you felt like they didn't believe you could do it and you've exceeded their expectations. Has that happened? If it's happened, take a seat. If you're already sitting down, just add it on your list of experiences that you've had. Number 5 of 6, have you ever made a mistake and then not apologized for it? I have been guilty of this on more than one occasion in my lifetime. Not proud of it, but I know it's happened. Can you think of a time that you've made a mistake and then you've not apologized? It might not be too late to do so, but right now, just take a seat if you're not already sitting down. And if you're already sitting down, there's another one to add to your list. And the final one, have you ever decided to learn something new, whatever that might be, whether that's big or small, but you've decided to learn something new because you wanted to better your life, and you've done it and it has bettered your life. And that could be absolutely anything. All right, there's a lot of people out there that would be driving, and at one point you didn't know how to drive. You've gone through that tortuous process of learning to drive. You've got your license, and you hoped it would make your life better, and maybe it has. But that's just one example. There's many out there that you might be able to relate to. What that shows us is that we've had lots of different experiences in life. Different people would have had different experiences at different times. Some people may have experienced all of those things. I certainly have. And some people very rarely may have only experienced one or two of those things, or even none of those things. But what it shows us is a lot of things have gone on in our lives just by me scraping the surface with people I don't even know are listening to this. And I might have been able to kind of get into a little bit of your past and make you recognize that you've been successful in a lot of areas. And you would inspire other people if you were to chat to someone who's a stranger and add the context behind any of those things that you've experienced. Because if something's not gone well, the chances are that you've learned from it. And if something has gone well, the chances are that you've learned from it. And this podcast, Sagacity, is all about sharing experiences of others and some of my own, of where people have taken what they've learned in life and found a way to live better lives and get better outcomes. That's sagacity. We're going to create people that are sagacious. Now, this isn't me trying to spill out the dictionary. It's just a word that I found that I liked. It describes that ability to take past experiences, solve problems, and make better decisions for the future. And that's what we want for you through this podcast. So the journey's just starting. I hope you'll join us for many more episodes, and thank you for listening in to the intro episode. Sagacity.